Hello and welcome to a tutorial on the fly-by-wire A320NX for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Today we're going to look at setting up the MCDU and actually getting a flight plan into our aircraft computer for our autopilot to follow. It's important to note that if you do not set up the MCDU correctly, there will be no flight plan and your autopilot will just fly you on a heading. It will not be able to follow a path that's predetermined by the computer. Now there are a few ways to set up the flight plan. The first way, of course, we should all be familiar with is the using of the world screen from the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 home screen when you first load up the game. And all you do to do that is click a departure airport and arrival airport and select how you want to arrive, whether that be ILS, other features as it is. Now what we're going to look at today is two different ways you can also set up the MCDU. The first one being manually, in terms of just manually entering the departure airport, arrival airport and waypoints and any airways that you may take, as well as ILS information. And the second way is to actually import the information automatically from Simbrief, which I'll show you later on. Now, first of all, for both these steps, you must have power to the aircraft, whether that's a ground power unit in the form that we have. So the aircraft is powered up. You can see the ground power unit down here. It's not necessarily connected, but the game registers that it's there, and we can use that to power the aircraft. If you are wondering how to get to this state, I have also released a tutorial on how to quick start the aircraft, and you should be able to see a link to that video around about now. That will tell you all you need to get to this stage where you're ready to then program the MCDU. So let's jump inside the cockpit then and have a look at the MCDU itself. So first of all, the page you'll see is this one here. Alright, if you've not got this page, all you need to do is press MCDU menu. Next, what you want to do is go to ATSU and then head to AOC menu. Okay, this is the first stage we're going to take in terms of programming the MCDU manually. We're then going to head to perf, weight and balance. Okay, now if you can just figure these out yourself if you wanted to. Or if you are using a program such as Simbrief, you can take this directly from your flight plan, which is what I'm going to do now. So the block fuel I've got on board is going to be 5119. So I'm going to enter this in. All you do is you type it out there and then you click where you want to enter it. So block fuel for me there. I then want taxi fuel of 200. Which is entered in. We can't currently enter trip fuel. I tried to do it before, it wouldn't work. So it's just not happening. Okay, so I'm then going to click load, and that's now loaded up. We're then going to go to page 2, so you can see there's got a 1 out of 2 there. We're going to go to page 2 now. Okay. We also want to set this up as well. The payload information. Again, you want to enter something in here, and then the rest of it will be worked out. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take it from here. I've got 9,100, so I'm going to do that. 9194. Enter that in, and then that works out everything for you. Okay, it's got your zero fuel weight there as 50.2, and your zero fuel weight center of gravity is 30. These are important to remember because you're going to need these later on. So make sure you make a note of these two. Okay, and then just click load. Okay, all we're going to do then is we're going to click init because we're done with the perf, weight and balance. So click init, and then we're going to enter some information about the flight we're taking. So first of all is company route. This will be boxed like this, but I had a mess about with it before, so it's left clear in there. Okay, so I'm just going to enter something in there. There are no company routes at the moment. I don't know if that's something they're bringing in later on. So you can pretty much enter anything in there and it won't matter. So all I'm going to do is EGCC1 because we're looking to fly to Manchester today. So I'm just going to enter that in. That's just to get rid of clear. What we're going to do next is we're going to enter the from and to airports, and it's exactly as it is in that format. So we're going from EGLL, which is Heathrow, and then we need the slash in the middle as well, /, and we're going to Manchester, which is EGCC. So I'm going to load that in there. Okay, and then it's going to offer you the routes there, and there are none. So you don't have to click anything other than return, and that will be loaded in there. I'm then going to try and enter the flight number, so I'm going to go for Fox00. Okay, there it is, flight number in. Now we've got cost index and cruise flight level and the temperature. Okay, so if you have got a flight plan generator such as Simbrief, you will be able to get the cost index straight from there. I have done so. I've got my cost index at 11, so I'll enter that in there, and you'll also be able to get the cruise and temperature from that there as well. I'm going to enter mine as 33,000, a little high for London to Manchester, but we'll go with that anyway. And I'm going to guess the temperature. It's not such an important one. I'm going to go as 33,000 as -50. Okay, that information is in. Okay, and that is init A page complete. We do also have an init B page, which we need to go to now. Okay, so this is where we needed to remember the information that we had before. So I've actually forgot that information. I know it was 50 point something, so I'm just going to put in a random number. It's not too important at this stage. So I'm going to put 50.4, I think it was around there. And a / again, exactly as it is there, as 30 being the centre of gravity. And there's that. Okay, block fuel on board, so we had that before. And the block fuel I've got on board is 5119. This time it needs to be entered as a point, so it's going to be 5.1. Okay, and then it does the fuel prediction itself for us, so it's done the rest of that page for us. Now you should be able to click fuel pred. That takes you to the fuel pred page, and you can see that's all now filled in. So that's the init page is complete. Okay, so now we are in a position to start putting in our flight plan. Everything else is pretty much irrelevant at this point, and we don't need them so much. So we're going to go to the flight plan. This is the important point. So if we have a look at an actual VFR map, at the moment all it's doing is it's taking us from EGLL direct by line of sight to EGCC. Okay, so all I'm going to do, similar sort of method as before. I've already got my waypoints in mind that I need to hit. So I'm going to start entering these, but first of all I'm going to enter the departure that I want from EGLL as well as the arrival to EGCC. The reason being because that may put waypoints in that you already want to hit, and it will just skip a step if that's the case. So we'll click EGLL first of all, and then you click on departure. You need to select the runway you want to depart from, so I'm going to go from 27 right, and I want to take the UMLA 1 Foxtrot departure. So that's in there, no transition, and then just press. So you can see it's gone there, runway 27 right, UMLA 1 Foxtrot as the departure, no transition, and insert. Okay, let's have a look what that's done to the actual map. So you can see now that's, rather than going point to point, that's now recording from 27 right, out on the departure route. Okay, what you may want to do is get rid of this USR waypoint, because you see how it takes off and drops me there. So to do that, I'll show you in a second. So that's going to take me out and round, and it's following this departure route, which actually hits a waypoint I already want to hit. Now if you want to look at these waypoints that it's entered, all you do is you click the up arrow and it will go down. So you see my next waypoint from there was actually umlaut. So by entering the departure, I've already skipped a step that I would have had to do previously. So now I don't have to mess about by entering umlaut. What I am going to do though is I'm going to get rid of that USR. So that's a little bit, well, it's quite a lot. It's literally an instant turn into the middle of the runway, and it's clearly not required. So first I'm going to do is press clear. It should say clear there at the bottom, and then I'm going to select the waypoint I wish to clear. Now this may work, it may not. Sometimes they don't disappear. Okay, that's gone. You can see the route's gone yellow because that's now the route before it's been confirmed. That's what it's saying. That's the route you're currently taking, the white and pink, but that's the route that you want to now select. So all I'm going to do is press insert if I want it, and if I didn't want to take that route and go back to the old one, I'd just press erase and it would just revert back to that old route. But I'm going to press insert, and there we go. USR is now gone, and that's a bit more of a standard departure pattern there. Okay, so that's the departure entered. I'm now going to enter the arrivals process. Now, if you are using a program like VATSIM, you may not know which arrival you want to take just yet, and that may be something you get later on, and that's fine, you can enter that later on. Right now, as this is, the plane will be able to take off and fly this route with autopilot here up to a certain point. Obviously, you'd want to then enter the departure before you get too close to the arrival airport. You'd want to enter the arrival before you get too close to the arrival airport. But we're going to do that now. So all I do is make sure you can see EGCC, and that's down as destination. So obviously it wouldn't be EGCC, it'd be whatever airport you've entered, but destination airport. Click that, and then on the right hand side you click arrival. Okay, in here then, again, it's the same process. You're selecting the runway you want. So I'm going ILS 05 right, so I'll select that. Okay, and then I'm going to go by the Dayan to Alpha arrival. So I've got to find Dayan to Alpha there. Okay, and it will ask you if you want to do a VIA. Now you can do no VIA. I'll just have a look on here. So you can do no VIA if you want. Let's see if that changes anything. It does get a little funny at this point. It doesn't really change much. The MCT VIA it's going with there is their MCT. So it's going to go, I think it's going to go via that anyway, even if I don't select it. So we'll select that VIA again, MCT. And then all I'm going to do is press insert. Okay, there we go. It's chosen its route. Now, by doing that, I've now also got the TNT waypoint that I wanted in there as well. Okay, so I've got umlaut, which I had, and I've also got TNT. So that is 2 waypoints already that I now don't need to enter that I had before. So this is why entering the arrival and the departure before you take off is, well, the departure definitely, but the arrival before you take off is beneficial because you may not have to enter the rest of the flight plan. Okay, so that's now entered. It's a very basic flight plan there. I have got one more waypoint that I need to hit that hasn't been selected, and that is the Welling waypoint. So I'm going to enter that in now. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to the point where I want it to be. So it needs to be in between umlaut and TNT. Now this is important now. If I was to click umlaut, so if I entered Welling and clicked umlaut now, it would enter it above Welling, umlaut. So Welling would get entered there, and you'd have some crazy little flight plan going. I want it to be in between umlaut and TNT, so I need to type Welling and then click TNT. So watch for a perfect demonstration. Ensure there's nothing there. First of all, if there is anything at the very bottom here, press clear to get rid of it. All I'm going to do is type Welling. Okay, there it is. And then I'm going to click TNT. Okay, now it's going to offer me all the Welling waypoints that it can find in the world. Okay, now the first one is normally the closest one, so that's normally the one you want. But obviously it may not be the closest one you want. So you can see that's 49 nautical miles away. The next one is 3,900 miles away, so it's obviously not that one. It's going to be the top one. Okay, and you can see that's entered it into the actual VFR map there. Again, it's still yellow, so it's still as a preliminary before you've confirmed it. And then all you have to do is press insert to confirm. And there it is. There's the flight plan entered. Right. For all intents and purposes, that is the flight plan now in the MCDU. Obviously, if you had more waypoints to enter, you'd make sure you passed the departure, the standard departure sort of process, and then you'd enter them where you want them on the MCDU. Just remember that the point you want it above is the point you click. Okay, so you don't click the one you want it below, you click the one you want it above. So TNT is where I'd click to enter well in above it there. Okay, and you can do that for as many waypoints as you wish to put in there. Okay, but that's the flight plan in. The aircraft will now follow the flight plan. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the perf screen and enter some information about our takeoff, and we're also going to look at the arrival information as well. Okay, so here's the perf screen then, the first perf screen. This is the takeoff information, as you can see there. Now there's a certain number of things I can enter and only a certain number that I need to. So first of all, these are important. These are the speeds that the aircraft is going to display on the screens to tell you where you want to rotate and when you're going past your V1 speed as well. Okay, so what you have to do to get to this point is enter all the other information you need first. So I'm going to enter information about the flaps, the temperature in the area, so the flaps takeoff, which is a flex to temp, and I'm then going to enter transition altitude for the QNH, which is this here, and then I'm going to then look at entering these speeds. Okay, but the speeds are worked out for you, so this is why you have to do this first. You can just enter the speeds automatically, but you may get V speeds disagree, in which case you have to change them anyway. So let's have a look. So first of all, I want to enter flaps 1. Okay, so I get that there. And then I'm going to enter a temperature of around 50 degrees, something like that. Okay, that's a flex to temp. I can't tell you the science behind it. I'm not a pilot. However, I know it's worked for me every time, so I keep it around 50 degrees. Transition altitude, normally around these airports, it's roughly around 7,000 or 6,500, so I'm going to enter 7,000. Okay, and all that means is when you hit that altitude, on here it will start flashing where it says QNH, it will start flashing STD, which means to set this to standard pressure, and all you do is you push down for that. Okay, but you can change the altimeter there as it is, and that changes the pressure setting, and you can see what that's doing is changing the altitude. Okay, so 1013 is the standard. We'll keep it as it is, and then as we get to a certain altitude we'll press standard to set it to standard pressure. Okay, so we've got all the information we need in there. All we're going to do now is enter the V speeds. Now, as I say, you can enter these yourselves, like by typing the number out, but you may get V speeds disagree. So for instance, I'll show you here, if I go 145, it now says V1, VR, V2 disagree, and this will be the same if you enter strange speeds that the computer doesn't recognize. Okay, so all I'm going to do to enter these is I'm just going to double click the button which corresponds to the certain V speed that I want. So for V1, I'll click it twice. That enters 122. For VR, 123, and V2, 127. Now, these won't be the same every time. It may be that you have 130, 150. It's environmental factors that determine this and the information you enter. So that is now entered, and that's the takeoff configuration done for the perf page. Okay, so what we're going to go to next, the next phase here, and we're just going to go through. We don't need to enter anything on these screens until we get to the approach. Okay, now this is something you can do later on as you are landing or getting closer to the airport to land. Basically, this determines how the approach is made and what speed you're going to be flying at into the approach. As long as you have managed speed mode on the speed selector, then the aircraft will select speed based on this. So first of all, we're going to look at MDA and decision height. Now, if you do use charts, you will find your MDA and DH on there, or one or the other normally. I'm going to enter 283 for decision height into Manchester. Now, all this does is it tells you at what height you need to be able to see the runway, and if you can't, you need to go around. or make a decision at, basically, whether you're going to land or not. Okay, so as I've got that entered at 283, when we are into the approach phase, basically what will happen, it'll display 283 somewhere there, and then it'll sort of count me down, and it'll tell me when I'm 100 above, and then it will tell me when I'm at the minimum. And then at that point, when you hear minimum, if you can't see the runway, that's when you need to think about going around. I think that's roughly the idea of it. Decision height and MDA. Okay, so all I'm going to do here then is I'm going to enter some information about the arrival airport I'm going to. Now you can obviously get this information if you're using a system like VATSIM or something like that, and you basically get the QNH from there if there is a controller on. But the rest of the information, it may be either from charts or it may be decided by a weather report, so you may need the METAR weather report, which you can actually request in the MCDU. I'll show you how to do that shortly. But all I'm going to do is I'm just going to guess it. So we're going to go with 1010 for QNH. Okay, and again, the reason you're entering that is once you get to the correct transition altitude, it will then tell you, it will be flashing against standard and telling you that you need to change the QNH basically. Okay, the temperature we're going to go for is 1 degree. Mag and wind, now mag is the direction of the wind, so we're going to go 300 and then / and then that wind will be the speed of the actual wind in knots, so we're going to go 10 knots. Okay, transition altitude, again I'm going to go for 7,000, and that is the altitude where you transition from standard to local sort of QNH setting. Okay, and the VAP speed is the minimum speed that you want the aircraft to travel at when it's got the flaps full, I believe, is the basics of it. Now 125, that's a little slow for me. I normally like to land at about 140 in game, so I'm going to enter 140 and enter that in there. Now that should mean that when I've got the flaps to full, the aircraft should be kept at the speed of 140. That's if I've got speed as managed speed. If I had it as selected speed, it would be to whatever I select. Okay, so that's that done. Now we're going to go to the next phase, and this is the final phase. Okay. Now this normally has a standard setting in there in the thrust reduction. This is all you can really change here. But basically, this is the go-around phase of the MCDU perf page. Now, all this would mean is that at 1,018 feet above the runway, I'd be telling you to basically go for a thrust reduction. Okay, so that's where it'd be like lever climb. Okay, so obviously in the event of a go around, you'd set the throttle to take off go round, and then this will kick in. It will register that you're going around, and then you'd probably have a altitude already entered in, and you'd select managed altitude, and the aircraft will just climb to that altitude. But once you hit 1,018 feet, it will then tell you to change to lever climb. So what we're going to do is we're going to just bump that up a little bit, and I'm going to put it as, you want it roughly about, from what I understand, about 1,500 above any runway. Now obviously each runway altitude is different. I don't know the altitude of the runway at Manchester, the height of the runway, sorry, at Manchester, so I'm just going to put 1580 in there, 1580, and that's now entered into there. Okay, can I enter that as well? I can enter it there as well, so out ACC, don't know what that means, but I'm just going to enter it, so it's all the same as it was when I came onto this page. Alright, that is perf now done. So if we go back, we've got approach filled in. Remember, you can do the approach phase at a later stage during the flight. You don't have to do this before takeoff, but it's just something else you can do while you're waiting to take off. This is all automatically done, no change required there. Takeoff, this is the important page that you must fill out before you take off. Okay, this is what determines your V speeds and where the aircraft will then tell you you've hit VR and V1. Okay, once we're there then, we're pretty much set up now. So that is in terms of the MCDU, the computer is now set up. There's nothing more I need to change. Now what may happen, again, if you are using a system like VATSIM, you may be told you need to change your flight plan slightly, and that's absolutely fine. You can do so. You can make edits to the flight plan. What I would suggest is you make edits to the flight plan while you're on the ground, because if you've seen some of my streams, if you do make too many edits in the air, the game gets confused and sometimes the aircraft can go all over the damn place. So I'll just give a basic rundown of how to make changes on here. So again, you've got all the points here. If you did need to clear something, you do as we did before, you press clear and clear it. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to show you entering another waypoint into this flight plan. So let's just go for the USR waypoint that we removed before. So USR, I'm going to click TNT because I want it in between Welling and TNT. Okay, it's coming up with crazy ones. I'm just going to enter it because I'm going to show you how to remove it as well. So USRE, insert. Okay, that's now in there. If you have a look at the flight plan, it goes all the way across the world out to there. Alright, obviously we don't want to follow that, so I'm now going to remove it from the flight plan, and to do so, ensure this bit has got nothing there first of all. If it has, like for instance, if that's still there, something like that, or some numbers, you just press clear until they go, and then you press clear again to remove this waypoint. So it says CLR there, so for clear, and then you select the waypoint you wish to remove. Done. And then you press insert, and now that waypoint is now gone. We've got the nice easy waypoint to Manchester up there. Okay, so you can make the edits to the flight plan. You can also make edits to the departure. All you do is you again click the airport you're going from, click the departure, and then you can change the runway, you can change the SID, you can change all of it, but we're not going to do that. Okay, what I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to show you how to request METAR, as in weather information. So what you want to do is click MCDU menu, go to ATSU AOC menu. Okay, then we're going to go WX request, so that is weather requests. Okay, we're then going to make sure it says METAR and then press send. That says now sent, and all we're waiting for is company message to come up here to tell us that we have received the weather report. Okay, we'll wait to click on it, because if you click on it before, it sort of delays the message coming through. And there it is, company message. So we're now going to click received messages, and there it is, the METAR. Having a look at the METAR, then we can get the information that we needed for the approach phase of the perf page on the MCDU, as we went through before. Now what you can see is we've got the QNH, I believe the temperatures. So one is the actual temperature of 7 and the other one is the dew point. We've got the wind speed here. We've not got the direction because it's saying it's variable. So VRB variable and 3 knots. Okay, but basically all that information that you needed should be there, minus maybe the transition altitude. The transition altitude won't be there, but you can easily find that or work that out yourself. Worst case, just guess. It's not too much of a problem. If it is set, if you are using like a system like VATSIM, it will be set for the airport you're arriving, so you do need to check that. Okay, but the rest of the information is there. All we're going to do then is we're just going to click flight plan to get out of there. Okay, and then we're back onto the flight plan page. That is the MCDU setup. All we'd want to be on now is the takeoff page, and we just leave it there until we get to the takeoff phase. Okay, so what we're going to go through now is importing a flight plan and computer information from a system such as Simbrief. Simbrief is able to be used with this MCDU. Now there's something you need to make sure first of all. As the very first step is you need to go to this website here. This is simbrief.com, and you need to create a account on Simbrief. Once you've done that, you can log in. You see I've got the test book account in here. Obviously register by going to register, create an account, go through that process. Then we're going to look at making a flight plan. So to do that, you're just going to click dispatch, and then you're going to click create new flight plan. Okay, in here you'll have information that is linked to your account, including your pilot ID. Now this is what you need here. Alright, now I'll just note that this is the test book account. It's an account I've created purely for this this tutorial, so if you want to use that pilot ID you can do. All you'll get is this flight plan that I'm about to create now. So you need that information there, okay, and I'll show you why now. So before we go into this actual flight plan, it all looks very confusing, but don't worry, it's not. I'm not a pilot and I can read it, so I'm sure all the very clever people out there that are watching this video will be able to do so as well. Okay, so first of all, this information. Alright, make a note of that. We're now going to go back to Flight Sim. Okay, in here we're going to go to Options. So this is the computer, the MCDU menu that comes up once the aircraft has been started. Again, we're at the point where we've got external power on and nothing more. Okay, and again, if you have watched the tutorial, you'll know you need these set to nav, otherwise you won't see anything to do with the flight plan. Okay, so Options. And then all we're going to do is we're going to click AOC. Down here it will say Simbrief. Okay, so A320NX options AOC. You've got the different sources that it has. Okay, obviously you need the METAR source for weather, and then there's other sources that you've got there, ATIS source. Okay, we're going to go to Simbrief. So you click on that, and then you need to make sure you enter this ID. Okay, it has to be the number. Alright, now it's already there, I've already entered it, but we're gonna enter it again anyway. So 448407. On yours will be blue down here as well, so you just then click that and that gets entered in. Okay, don't worry about that GPS primary loss message, that's just telling me that it's not ready yet to be used. You can just clear that away, but that's now entered. So 448407. What that means is this is now linked to your Simbrief account, okay, and that means that any flight plan that is created here can actually be drawn up by this computer in game, which is fantastic. Okay, so what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to quickly set up a flight plan using Simbrief as well. So all we'll do for the moment is click MCDU menu and we'll wait there. So for a very brief flight plan using Simbrief, and to get it to a point where you can actually import the information, all we're going to do first of all is we're going to enter airline. We'll just go FBW because we're in the fly-by-wire livery 00. We're going to depart from EGLL and we're going to go to EGCC. Okay, and the alternate has automatically gone back to EGLL, so that means if you do have to go to your alternate airport, you turn around. Now you can enter this information. This isn't so important because you will actually be departing at a certain time, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't make you fly at that time. Okay, airframe, you need to enter this information, so A320 or whatever aircraft you've got. Then you've got different information, advanced aircraft options, climb profiles, they're normally set in and you can't really change them. Cruise profile, again, this is the CI setting. I'd leave that as auto and you'll get the information for that later on. Okay, descent profile, and then onwards your registration, your FIN number, stuff you don't really need. Okay, then we'll get onto this bit. Most of this can be done automatically, so you just leave it to do its own things. If you do want to make changes to the amount of passengers, for instance, you've got on board, or the cargo, you can do so, and then it will do all the workings out. Okay, but the main things you need to change here are the departure runway, the arrival runway, and the altitude. Okay, so 27 right, 05 right as the departure and arrival, and then the altitude I'm going to do as 28,000. Okay, and then just enter that information and it does that. Now, you can ignore that. It's saying it's outdated because I don't buy charts. I use the free charts that are available, which are outdated, but they work fine for me. Okay, so what we've got here is the route. Okay, now this is the route it's giving you. It's giving you a certain departure. So it's using the UMLA 1 Foxtrot departure. It's then going to hit Umlaut waypoint via Tango 418 airway to Welling waypoint, and then it's going to go via Tango 420 airway to TNT, and then via the Dayan 2 Alpha arrival into Manchester. Okay, now you can select these here. All right, you've got different ones you can select from. It offers you 4, but then if you if you click view more routes, there are other routes you can use, okay, and they're all in there, and you can just click through and change it how you want. So you see it changes the route at the bottom each time you click something different. Okay, but we wanted the Welling and TNT, so we'll click that one there. Alright, that is now that route in, and you see it plans in the whole route, so you can see the departure. You can't quite see the arrival, which is not registered that, but it's okay, it's not a problem. Okay, that once you've selected that, you can now go to the generate OFP page here. Okay, so all you're going to do is you click that and then click yes, and this now saves your flight plan, and it will also give you out the information that you need for the next page. So you can see the flight plan is in there. Alright, and this is some information you're going to need here. I'll show you which information you'll need as we get through it. You probably recognise some of it, such as block fuel from the last part of the tutorial. Okay, so now we have the OFP generated. All we're going to do is we're going to go back to Flight Sim, and we're going to do the init information first. So we'll go to init page A, which is this one. Now you see it says init request. Now I believe the way it works in reality is you press this and it gives you the company routes, but obviously we're going to request this, and if you've linked this properly to your Simbrief account, it should just import all the information you need to a certain extent. So if I press init request, uplink, insert in progress, and there's the information. So you can see FBW00, it's giving me the alternate route there. It's not saying a company route, but we're going from EGLL to EGCC. It's got the cost index in there, which I'll check on my flight plan. So cost index 10, yeah, that's correct, no need to change that. And then it's got the cruise profile, so 200, flight level 200, and -25 temperature. Okay, what I need to then do is go MCDU menu again, ATSU, AOC menu, and perf weight and balance. So I'll click that. Okay, in here then, this page should be correct. Just double check it by going onto the Simbrief page, and you should see the block fuel is 5067, and that is 5067, so that's fine. So all we're going to do is click that and then click load. And that loads the information into the aircraft, and there's nothing more you need to do to that page. Then you need to click the right arrow because we've got 1 out of 2, and we need to go to page 2. This is where you're going to have to change things. Okay, so if I go onto my flight plan now, what you can see here is the zero fuel weight that I have. So it says estimated and maximum. Obviously the top row now is all the maximums of the aircraft, and the estimated is what we have on board. Okay, you can also get this information from here. So it says zero fuel weight 62037. So there it is, 62037. So what you can see is this is actually incorrect. It needs to be 62. Okay, so to do that, all we're going to do is we're actually going to play about with this number here, and so we're going to change this to ensure that we get 62 there. Now from memory I think it's about 21,000. Let's try it. Yeah, there we go, 62. Okay, so that is now to the correct zero fuel weight, and we've also got the centre of gravity as 30. So let's have a look at Simbrief again. So we're happy that that's 62 and 30. Okay, what we're going to do then is we're going to go to init B page. Once that's in, sorry, we're going to load that first of all. So quick load, and then we're going to go to init B. So if we click init again, next page init B. So now it's asking for that information we just entered. So we need 62 over 30 for the zero fuel weight and zero fuel centre of gravity, and then the block fuel, as we saw on here, was 5076, so it needs to be 5.0. Okay, and that does the fuel prediction again. Boom, there it is. Okay, if you click fuel pred page, that should be in there as well. Happy days. Right, the init data is now in there. Okay, and this is all information that I can get off this flight plan here. Alright, so it's at the top of the OFP and in the plan fuel. Most of it is there as well for you to use. Okay, so that's that done. We're now going to get into the perf stage, and as before, we're just going to enter information as we need it. So we're going to go flaps 1, we're going to go 50 as the temperature, transition altitude 7,000, and then V1, VR, V2. Next phase. Okay, I'll do the approach as well. I'll just do randoms. Temperature of 6, mag and wind, so it's a variable. We'll do 000 at 6. Transition altitude of 7,000, and VAP I'll have that as 145. Decision height we'll just do 283 random. Okay, and then we'll go here again, 1560, 1560. Boom, that's in. Right, okay, previous phases, all in. Takeoff profiles in. Now we're going to get to the flight plan. Okay, you don't have to do it in this order, you can do flight plan as long as you've requested that information. The flight plan will be in there, so all you have to do is have a look at it. Now, what we did before, so you can see if you have a look at our VFR map, we've got the flight plan in, but it doesn't include the arrival or departure. Okay, so we are still going to have to enter the arrival and departure automatically. Manually. So again, as we did before, we click the departure. Departure is 27 right, and it's going to be via Umla 1 Foxtrot, and insert, and then arrival. ILS, it was 05 right, and it was the Dayan to Alpha, and we'll go via MCT, insert, and there we go. So that is now the flight plan in. Okay, again, it's put that USR in there. I want to get rid of that, so I'll just clear USR, insert, and that should adjust. There we go, USR is gone. Happy days. We're now in a position where we've got the flight plan in, we've got all the information we need to take off, and we've requested everything we need from Simbrief. So that is it. The MCDU is now set up. So as we go through, there's all different pages, but the ones you need are the perf page, the init page, the flight plan, obviously, the fuel prediction should be there and done automatically once you've done init B, and that should be it. So I'll just show you again quickly how to set up the Simbrief profile. So all you'd be on is MCDU menu. You'd then go from this page, click options, AOC, Simbrief, and enter your user ID there. Okay, ensure it's the correct user ID off your flight plan and off your actual Simbrief profile, and then that will get any information that you then save via Simbrief. But it's important, you have to have already clicked generate OFP at this stage to then have that page in there. Okay, but once that's in there, you're good to go. All that information is now in there, and the MCDU is set. We're good to start our taxi and takeoff. If you enjoyed this clip, don't forget to follow or subscribe and leave a comment. Thanks.